HorrorDeconstruction.
What's up, everybody? It's the HorrorDeconstruction. You can find us on Instagram. Give us a like, share, and subscribe. Just hit that bell icon. Make sure you let people know that you watch us, or most likely listen to us. With your host, Komp. Today's a solo deconstruction based on the film Spiral 2021 from the Book of Saw. So, directed by Darren Lynn Bousman, written by Josh Stolberg and Pete Goldfinger, starring Chris Rock, Samuel L. Jackson, Max Minghella, and a whole bunch. A criminal mastermind unleashes a twisted form of justice in Spiral, the terrifying new chapter from the Book of Saw. So, this is the new Saw film that is the latest installment of the series. Saw series. It's called Spiral. I guess they wanted to rebrand it, but they still put the name Book of Saw because they want to call it Saw 15. I think this is Saw 10. I think it's Saw 9. As for my history with the Saw films, I don't even know if we reviewed the first film. I'm pretty sure we did. I'm not sure. I don't know. It seems like something that's pretty much standard any horror fan review, but that was a very good police procedural horror film. Launched the careers of the original cast. Obviously Lee Winnell and I'm blanking on his name. The guy who directed the Aquaman and all those other films. I think he did a Fast and the 4, but those guys are like set. And Lee Winnell had written the first, but they handed off the films to Darren Lynn Bousman, who's doing this one. And Saw went on to make, I think, 8 films. I believe 8, including the one that was about 5 or 6 ago. I saw that one. I think I've seen most of them. I believe I saw 1, 2, a little bit of 3. I used to work at a movie theater, so I was a lot of these. It seemed every year it came out, and I think it did for a clean couple of like 6 or 7 years. Saw 4. I think I liked Saw 4, actually. I thought that was a pretty interesting one. But anyway, the basic premise of the original Saw films was this guy named John Kramer who called himself Jigsaw. He would create these situations, get some sort of vengeance on people. If you go to the Saw that revealed his whole modus operandi, him and his wife were... I guess he had cancer. He was dying. His wife. I don't know if he got cancer after he found out his wife was pregnant, but he lost his wife. He lost his wife's baby. Her baby got killed because some junkie a door and crushed the child. And since he couldn't pay bills or something, he went nuts and he decided to make people appreciate their lives because there's a lot of people didn't. He was the original. He was an evil version of Tony Robbins, but there's an argument that Tony Robbins is probably evil. Not that I'm saying that legally. So that was all Jigsaw. He had Amanda, I guess, helping him. There were some really interesting kills in there. I remember just watching them originally and just being like, the original one I really liked because it had a certainly different feel from the rest of them. The rest of them, because I think it came on the heels of, or it might be before, but I'm not sure. I think it was right after Hostel, and it became torture porn. So it's just people getting tortured and trying to get out of these various traps and stuff like that. Some really gruesome traps, like the bear saw trap, which was weird enough as the first movie. They didn't use the bear saw trap, but that was like with the famous poster of Amanda in her saw trap on her head, or the bear trap. And they used it for, I think, the one where it happened to. We're spoiling everything, so sorry. But finally used it on his wife, and I think his wife got fucked over because I don't think she was a bad person. I'm not sure, but then the Saw movies just got progressively worse. One of them because I think one of the his acolytes took over and just became like this vengeful, like crazed police officer. So these films are all hand in hand with sort of cops and dealing with cops. And certainly there's a line in this movie that made absolutely no sense. It's one of Chris Rock's character. He says in the film, John Kramer never targeted cops. And I was like, what? That's like half of the people that he went after in the original Saw film. So Darren Lynn Bousman forgot the fucking movie that he directed, you know what I mean? Because I'm sure the guy from New Kids on the Block, who was a detective in the second film, I'm sure he's a cop, right? So, and he was torturing him, his head exploded. I don't know if that was because it was Costas Mandylor doing it, or if it was directly by John Kramer, but it was the second film, and Jigsaw was still alive, so I'm sure he had something to do with it. And then the point where I really was like, because I was like, Jigsaw, because people can see Jigsaw that, he's forcing these people to face reality and stuff like that, and they kind of root for Jigsaw to torture these people because they're fucking weird or whatever. But one of the Saw movies, I'm not sure if it was Saw 5 or something, or Saw 4, there was a main cop character, because essentially what they did is that each character from like the beginning of the Saw films, they ended up getting their own films where they would get fucked over by Jigsaw, and one of them was this African American cop I don't know why his name is escaping, but he was like a good character. Like I don't remember him doing anything bad. And the Jigsaw's reason, because everybody else is like, oh, this guy's on drugs and he doesn't set himself straight, so I'm gonna make him pull his foreskin off so he can appreciate life, or some, people like that, like people that are stealing shit, doing stuff like that. And then the cop, the African American guy, I think it was part 4 or 5, that Jigsaw's reasoning to kill that guy is because he cared too much. It was like some sort of some shit I didn't understand, because he was like, see, you care too much about Bull. It's like, what the fuck? Like, he's a cop. I guess that's a cop that you want to give a shit about people, but whatever. Because I guess he couldn't. He wasn't taking care of his wife at home, so he was too busy trying to save people's lives. That's when I was like, oh, fuck Jigsaw. And then, but whatever. There was a good. The one that I remember liking a lot, that was one of the further sequels, was about healthcare reform. It was about this guy who's going through a labyrinth of saw traps, but then he ended up, because he couldn't approve some guy's Medicare insurance thing, he ends up getting crushed to death by the son of the guy. And I was like, that seemed kind of fucked up, because then that guy would have lost his livelihood, and then the Jigsaw would have went after his boss. So it made no sense. It was sort of like a weird situation to be put in, like in the movie, what was that movie, Drag Me to Hell. Like, the lady had no control of losing her job. Well, she was a little bit selfish trying to get her job. I'm going on a tangent. Anyway, so now there's a new Saw film, Spiral, they're calling it, which I would be like, if you want to see a good Spiral movie, go watch the one based on Junji Ito's manga. Go watch that movie. That's Spiral. Go watch that one. Don't watch this. All right, if you want, but if you're a completist, go watch this one. Like, I even saw the one before this one, which sucked. And I think it just became them making traps that people couldn't escape. Like, there's just no way you can escape them. Like, dumb shit. Like, in Saw 1, John Kramer had put a hint that this guy could have just gotten the key out of the drain, would have got himself free instead of having whatever the fuck happened to him. And then in the one previous to this one, the last Saw before this one, which was a sort of a quasi prequel, which I think people were supposed to be shocked by it, even though everybody else was dead by the time of that. The trap was inescapable for the last person, because they were dealing with an asshole. So, like, that was just pointless. It was just stupid. You just might as well just kill the guy right there instead of torturing. Anyway, so this is now after that long rambling premise, 8 minutes in. So this is a new take on, I guess it's not really a new take, because it's the same thing as the first one. And this deals with Chris Tucker and not Chris Tucker. Oh, this would have been awesome if it was Chris Tucker. Chris Rock. I hope I didn't say Chris Tucker in the beginning, because Chris Tucker, I'd fucking watch that movie. He'd be like, ah, damn, like that and stuff. But anyway, Chris Rock, who's playing this Detective Zeke Banks. So, oh boy, because I'm sure there was people complaining about the lead, because people are idiots. They perceived that this was going to be a quote-unquote black horror film. The lead is a black man. The fuck, there was a black lead in Saw 3 and Saw 4, or no, Saw 4. So it's like, get the fuck over it. There was no fucking. It's just a film with a black lead. If anything, there should be more character. I haven't seen any Latino Saws. The only Latino in Saw was a Puerto Rican evil guy in part 2. Thanks a lot. Anyway, so with this one, he's playing Zeke Banks. He is an officer who he told, which is very weird, because this deals with police corruption and stuff like that. There was a lot of corrupt cops. It was one of the main Saw guys is a corrupt cop in the original film, played by Costas Mandylor. So people now, they seem to have forgotten that was a character who's throughout the whole series, but this one, because people are so divided with things politically, then they're going after cops in this one. Oh no, please, it's like, come on, they've done this already. So it's stop being so fucking sensitive. These are detective movies, okay? It's detective. It's like Saw is like a cheap version of Seven, okay? That's what it is. It's clever with its first twist, but then each twist after, I get it. It's just cops versus X. That's what. And in this one, they're targeting the cops, and of course, people in this political climate are like, oh no, you can't make a bad police officer. Well, every cop's in jail. Oh no, you can, because cops are all demons. Just get the fuck over it and let's watch them. And in this one, Jigsaw, or not Jigsaw, somebody because Jigsaw's been dead for a while. He died in part 3. Somebody's continuing Jigsaw's legacy, because they're using his scheme of putting spirals everywhere, but he no longer uses the Billy the Puppet, which was the iconic little puppet that's on the bicycle. There's a lot of issues with this, because Darren Lynn Bousman is this director. He helmed a couple of the films, I believe, and then he went off. I appreciate Darren Lynn Bousman's go get him attitude, because if I do listen to episodes of Postmortem, and I believe they interviewed him on there, and there was a really interesting story of how he got to do the Saw films. And what sucks about it, I feel bad because like be like, if I didn't enjoy a movie, like this whole podcast is about goofing on movies, and we don't really mean to insult people. It's just like you laugh at it because it's a bunch of us. We're not professional reviewers. We're just talking shit and trying to find some humor out of these movies. And Darren Bousman sounds like the guy loves the genre, obviously, because he keeps doing it and he likes to try different things, and but he's done a couple. Let me see which Saw. I definitely. But I think after he did 2, 3. He did Saw 4, and I think those were the only real movies that broke any sort of box office. Because one of his big dream deals was doing the film Repo the Genetic Opera, because that was based on this stage musical that used to run in Los Angeles, like a very cult show. And I remember seeing the trailer for it, and I was like, oh, this looks fucking cool. And then I saw it, and I was like, it's all right. Like, it was such a jumble of a film. It's sort of the only film I can kind of compare it to was the follow-up to Donnie Darko. I can't think of the name of it. It was that director's second film. It was starred The Rock or whatever. But it was like a jumble of shit, and you're just like, where's this movie going? It had a dope premise, which the premise is similar to the movie Repo Men, not Repo Man, but this movie called Repo Men with Jude Law. And it was about whatever. But I remember just watching it, and the movie was too ambitious for its budget, which sucks because it could have been a fucking really cool movie if they sort of stepped back and kind of got rid of some elements from it. I remember it had Paris Hilton in it. She wasn't bad. And it had Ogre from Skinny Puppy, who was pretty interesting in it. Anyway, and it had Anthony Head, who was Giles on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and it also had the young girl from Spy Kid. And I remember watching it, and I was watching it going, oh, okay, all right, watching it. And then there was a scene with the girl from Spy Kids where she's singing in her room. And the movie had a good twist, actually, in it, too, so that's worth watching. I didn't, in the end, I didn't think it was that great of a movie. But I remember there was a scene where the girl is singing in her room, the daughter in the film, and she starts dancing, and there was a skeleton jumps up and starts dancing with her, and I was embarrassed to be in the movie theater watching it. It was so shockingly embarrassing, that scene, that I was just like, oh boy, like I was like, ooh, like I felt crazy just sitting next to people watching. But Darren Bousman has tried to make mix horror and musicals, which I want more of that shit. That's why Nightmare Before Christmas people like it, because it's /horror/musical. We don't really get that a lot of that, and I appreciate the effort. And you want to root for him, but I can't say that I've seen any other of his films besides the Saw movies and that film. So now he's back here to helm it, because I don't think he's had a hit or anything that's kind of broke box office since his Saw. And certainly the other ones didn't. The other Saw sequels didn't make as ones that were in 3, I guess, because people were, once you start hitting a certain thing, they just get sick of it. And he's back helming this, and I think he wanted to envision the series, but it's the same shit. Like, when you go see a Friday the 13th movie, it's Jason running around slashing people. There's nothing different. They try to do it with Jason X. I personally didn't like it. People love that movie. But it's just Jason. Like, I think like the Friday the 13th, the pinnacle of that series is Part 6. That's my favorite one out of all of them. And like Friday the 13th, my favorite one is Part 3. I'm sorry, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 3. That's my favorite one. Just because they put there was solid directing in those films. With Saw, my favorite one is the first one. So once there's a peak that those type of films hit, and then it just becomes repetitive, and they try to do different things with it. And with this one, Spiral is not that different. They just tweak a couple of things, but it's still sort of this really bad writing that doesn't make any sense. Because this is a detective cop film, right? And, well, just getting into Chris Rock. When I first heard about Chris Rock starring this, because Chris Rock is the one who got this in movement. They probably weren't going to do another Saw movie for a while. But Chris Rock can, I guess, he's a high enough profile name that he can get people interested in putting money into it. Like, that's just like Nicolas Cage is in every movie, because his movies don't make any money, but it's Nicolas Cage, so he has a built-in audience. I don't really know about Chris Rock having a built-in audience, but Chris Rock is not that good of an actor, and like I've always noticed it. And he's a very funny stand-up comedian. From the one that I saw a long time ago. I haven't really kept up his comedy, but he is a funny guy. Like, there's no question about it. Here, and I've seen some parts where some other films, I think it was Nurse Betty or something, he has a scene where he's like Morgan Freeman's son and he gets killed in it, and like he has a death scene, and I like that scene, but the rest of it was just like, He seems like he wants to do his stand up throughout the movies, and he certainly does that in this fucking movie. The first 10 minutes he's doing stand up routine, and I was like, well, what's he doing? Like, that's why I'd rather have Chris Tucker or Dave Chappelle. Like that, those would be fucking funny. Anyway, so I mean, like the guy's emoting is all over the place. He has a good look. Chris Rock has a great look to his film. He looks like a hardened cop. Like he's just sick of everybody's shit. That's if he's standing still. When he has to emote, when he's shocked, when he's upset, it's like I can't believe. Like this guy's been in business for many years. He's been in a very good movie called New Jack City, which they reference in this film. And because he played like a cokehead in that one, he was all right in that one too. But in this one, takes the lead. You just really like, holy fucking shit! Like, what kind of acting is this? And it's not so horrible that it like completely stalls the film, but it's very obvious, and that's like, oh boy, like here the thing is with his acting, it's so bad that the writing. This is how shows you how bad it is. Like a bad actor can fuck up a good movie, but this movie's so bad that you don't even notice his bad acting because everybody else is a good actor. So you're like, holy fuck. So I really wanted Chris Rock to be a very good actor in this one, but it didn't work for me. But I'm not gonna take that away. Like he got us all. He made so good. But this super spoilers. So we're gonna discuss this. Super fucking spoilers. Sorry, super. But so his father's played by Samuel Jackson. Samuel Jackson can act in anything. But he looks like he's phoning it in this one. He's just like, just give me money and I'll say motherfucker 100 times. Fine, he's good. There's not enough of him in the movie. You can tell he did 2 days of work and they paid him $100,000 or whatever they fucking paid him. But he's worth it. You put Samuel Jackson in a movie, at least some of it is going to be good. He's been in some shit movies, but he's always the best part of a shit movie. And even he can't even say the shit. He's partnered with Max Minghella. Max Minghella is this actor that I've seen a lot. He's one of those actors in and he's a solid, reliable actor. The guy doesn't look like he has aged. I don't know how old is he? 5. And he's really good. And son of Anthony Minghella. He's just a very good actor. And as soon as I saw him, I was like, okay, that's Jigsaw. I was like, yeah, that's Jigsaw right there. He's him because he's so awkward and it's just like. But we'll get to why that is. Anyway, so Chris Rock's character is everybody in his unit hates him because he ratted out a corrupt cop that shot an innocent person. Why? Like the cop that shot the innocent person, because we do it in a flashback, and that deals with the spoiler for the twist in the film. And that cop shot this kid, right? He shot this kid. He shot this man who I guess saw something to see. Cop shot him, and then Chris Rock. And like that guy shot an innocent person. This is a guy who like went and like shot at a guy. Like he literally just shot at the guy. He killed him. And he went to jail for 9 years. I don't know how the fuck you get only 9 years as a cop for shooting somebody purposefully to shut them up. Because this motherfucker would have had the jail on top of him. They would have just like poured the concrete on him and then built a new jail on top of him. Because there's no fucking way you only get 9 years. You get life for that shit. I don't know which state this, but anyway, so that's why Chris Rock, everybody's giving him shit. He has a sergeant played by Marisol Nichols. Marona mia, no offense. I've never seen a sergeant in his film or a captain. Gorgeous as so I apologize to the ladies who are listening to this episode. She's good. She's and I was nice to see a woman in a captain role, but obviously now as a disgusting pigman as I am, commenting on her looks, but she's gorgeous, so you can't help it, and she's a good actor, and she's a woman of age, like she's an adult woman, she's not some eye candy shit, although she is quite gorgeous, but she's good in it too, and I guess she's corrupt also, because we all find every character's corrupt except Chris Rock's. But here's the thing, this is what I don't understand there's Jigsaw, right? Instead of using the Billy puppet, they use this sort of pig puppet character. It looks all it's fine. They changed Jigsaw's voice, so you can't even tell what the sex of the character is. It sounds like this. It sounds like just a falsetto voice. I like the original, but it's obviously this guy's dead, so and so they're targeting all these corrupt cops, and Chris Rock is trying to figure out because even though if you know a corrupt person but you know them personally, you're like, oh fuck, many layers to these people, but they're not. These characters are like literally corrupt characters, so I don't understand why. But Chris Rock his character is always getting in trouble because he does solo assignments because he knows his guys won't back him up because I guess all the cops are corrupt and they don't give a there was one red herring character, this other African American guy who just was always giving weird looks to Chris Rock's character, and I thought that was interesting, like, but I don't think in this type of climate they would have made Jigsaw an African American character because, you know, somebody would have cried about it. Somebody would have gotten upset. I think what's interesting about the film is the idea of it is interesting, and dealing with police corruption is interesting, and this person doing this and the elaborate sort of death traps and their explanation for it, which is William Shank's reasoning behind it. Making Jigsaw another cop is just so fucking boring, although it makes sense that a cop would do this, but there's just such bad writing in this. It doesn't make any fucking sense. If a second cop was killed, Jigsaw is like a national thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, if there's somebody copycatting Jigsaw, I remember in New York City there was a secondary Zodiac killer. This guy who showed up in the 80s or the 90s or something. He tried to do the same shit Zodiac did. They caught his ass real quick because the FBI stepped in. The FBI would have had their noses right up the cops' asses in this one because they're like, listen, we can't. The thing with government, sort of like police and cops and shit like that, if they show any weakness that they're getting picked off like this, that's when they send in the army and the FBI because they can't look weak or people will not feel like they're being protected. Well, mostly privileged people will not feel like they're being protected. So when this happens, like there's a couple of days going on and there's no FBI showing up to be like, okay, let's go take a look at this. You know, I couldn't believe that there was no FBI character that came in and stepped in to look into this because this is ridiculous. Like it's news that there's cops being killed and in elaborate ways. A guy getting tied up with a thing on his tongue to chop it. He has to chop his tongue off before he gets hit by a train. Another guy has to pull his fingers off where he gets electrocuted. What the fuck? Who has time for this shit? Call the FBI, okay? At least they have people that worked on these problems before, not just Chris Rock by himself when nobody wants to help him. When there's somebody killing cops, it's like it's so stupid. And then like just going back to Jigsaw's voice was terrible. I just didn't like that at all. The aesthetics were all fucking just not as original. And it's Darren Lynn Bousman. He directed the other two. So he's trying to bring back that whole, you know, whenever they show the person torture, it'll do that stupid Matrix effect. Not that the Matrix effect is stupid. It's stupid for these movies. Where they'll spin around. And that was just them mimicking. That was Darren Lynn Bousman mimicking what they did in the first movie. And the first movie did it good. You know, it's spinning around and all this sort of bad Seven effects and stuff like that. It all looked like some sort of cheap version of a Nine Inch Nails music video. But they did it good in the first one. In this one, it's just like, it's just cheap. It feels cheap. It feels cheap like the second, third, and fifth, and 900th. And so yeah, this is a scene where they kill the captain. They tell her to go down to the evidence room. They trick her to going down there so they can pour wax on her and kill her. I thought that was pretty brutal. With she either had to sever her spine so she couldn't walk anymore, or take the wax. I was like, yeah, I'll take the wax. I'll go out with. I was very sad to see that gorgeous captain. But anyway. So she's down there, and Chris Rock knows that she's in trouble, right? So Chris Rock goes and he runs, calling her number. He's calling her number because he knows she's gonna be killed by Jigsaw. He knows this. Call the fucking station. Call the other cops. He's calling her. The second you can't get her fucking first call, you call the station. You're a detective, right, or a cop. Call the station. Let all the other cops know. But like, listen. I know Jigsaw is looking for her. Go down and make sure she's okay down in this evidence room. He doesn't do it. It takes him, what, 20, 15 minutes or 10 minutes to get where he's... Call everybody else. What's wrong with you? Are you stupid? Are you an asshole? I guess he is because I guess you have to move the plot along and they think that the audience is stupid enough not to pick up on this. This is the laziest bunch of fucking writing for this type of film. And I'm sure there's been lazy writing. Because the thing is, I think they're worried about... really of shocking the audience with a twist ending, which I thought the twist was interesting, that it was Max Minghella who was the son of the innocent bystander that gets killed by the corrupt cop. That guy's death is sort of corny. It's an interesting visual, but like him getting blown away with like shredded glass, I was like, all right. But it didn't feel as urgent as the other deaths were, because you just think broken glass, like whatever. It's like I seen Jackie Chan get broken glass on him in Rumble in the Bronx. It didn't happen in this one, but like it was sort of corny. Like they should have torn the guy apart. Like they should have put shit in there that why didn't he block the device that shoots the glass out? Okay, or jam it, do something. But no, of course they don't think straight in these fucking movies. and then how he gets away with it, because he thought he was clever with the pig puppet was then supposed to be representative of what happens to Samuel Jackson. Samuel Jackson should have had a much larger role in this film. He's in this flashback, and it's the worst goat mustache. It looked like they peeled something off of a tire and put it on their face. And the same for Chris Rock, with his bad goatee and his goofy hat, which is supposed to make them look younger. Horrible makeup effect on them for that. The gore looks good in the movie, but it's not enough. It's not enough gore either, which is very strange. But it's all because something 8. I forgot, not Section 8, but something that they authorized called something number 8, where it let cops do shit without with immunity, like basically deal with crime on their own hand, and they were beating the shit out and killing people. Apparently, I didn't know. All I know was that one cop who shot that guy, and they got off for 9 years, which is ridiculous. But yeah, so at the end, the Max Minghella character tricks Chris Rock's character, saying that if he shoots this target, he'll be free. And he'd let Samuel Jackson, because Samuel Jackson looks like his blood is being drained out by these things, which he shoots the target, which frees Samuel Jackson. What actually did is that he put him in this sort of marionette thing, which controls his hand, pulling a gun up to these police officers who end up, they send like a fucking army of cops to who they think Samuel Jackson is the Jigsaw character or something. It's so stupid. And then Max Minghella's on this freight elevator. So you're telling me Chris Rock is there, and at the very end, Chris Rock is like, no, screaming. I'd be like, that motherfucker's on a freight elevator. It's either going up or down. I want every fucking cop on every floor of this building that we're on right now to catch this motherfucker. Unless this was some sort of magical closet that freight elevator goes to, and he could warp through time. Because he's just only a guy. He's one person. Apparently, I'm sure if they'll make sequels, he'll have like 50 other characters that he knew doing this bullshit. But it's just such sloppy, boring fucking writing. The gore isn't enough to satiate whatever I thought I was going to see in this movie. I was like, I just want to see a detective movie. Listen, I liked Strangeland, and that movie's terrible. And that's about like a cop chasing a psychopath. But it's so bad it's good. This is so bad it's fucking bad. That's what it is. And Chris Rock's acting is bad. The deaths are bad. They hardly focus on characters getting killed. As soon as I saw, like, when they say that Max Minghella's character was killed, because they find the skinned corpse, but they find one with like a tattoo on it, I was like, yeah, okay, that's not him. Bullshit. That's not his fucking dead. But as soon as that happened, I was like, no, he's alive, because that's bullshit. If his head was on the fucking corpse, then okay, but it wasn't. And then also, because Max Minghella's character is saying that he has a wife and a kid. And as soon as, like, when he was at home talking to Chris Rock and you hear this baby crying, I was like, that's fake. It's bullshit. You can tell like, they don't show the baby. If you saw the baby, then you can see that he has a baby in the house. But then police don't check on this motherfucker, that he doesn't have a wife and a kid that is made up. They say, oh, yeah, no, you can join the force. Yeah. What? How does that work? What the fuck is that bullshit? Bad fucking writing, man. There's a smart way to write this. I wouldn't spend time writing it, but there's much smarter approach to fucking making this movie than whatever the fuck they did, because this didn't make any sense. Like, this is a national fucking problem. You know, especially, and the movie got fucked up because of, you know, all the thing that the America has gone through. It couldn't get released. But it's just they should have just never fucking released it. I don't know if it's going to make money. I doubt it, because I don't hear anything about it. I think it just released, but everybody's talking about other movies instead. So I think once again these movies are gonna go into hibernation or something, because it just made no fucking money. They kept Chris Rock around, which is fine, but my friend says that he's good in this Fargo series, and Fargo's a great show. And watching this, I'm like, well, I guess I'm gonna push off Fargo for a while, because I don't know how much his acting I can take. But this is just like, it's such a monumental like disappointment. The previous Saw was disappointing, but they're all just a series of disappointing movies when they make. And I'm like, I'm sure there's people going, oh man, but it's fucking gore, it's Saw, and it's not that good. It's not that good of gore in these movies. It's just like, you just spin around and do 7 effects, or not. 7 didn't even do shit like that. It didn't spin around and do weird special effects where they're dead. Everything was like after the person died. And I think they tried to do that here, but it's just like the corpses didn't even look that interesting. They were just sort of just dead bodies. It was just like corny. And that really makes the whole film itself suffer. Who gives a fuck in the end? Like, Chris Rock's acting fucks it up. The writing fucks it up beyond compare. and they really dropped the ball with it. And they should have just started up with a whole new. Just don't keep away anybody from who did the original horrible sequel with these movies. Just have somebody else fuck. If you want to make them targeting cops, that's fine. But people, I guess maybe they're fetishizing the cops or something like that, which is what the other films did. It's not like this is anything new with the. There's a way you can handle it because they're afraid of making a cop a hero, I guess, in a movie. But shit is complicated, okay? That's just how fucking, I'm not going to look to films for and see. And this certainly is not going to help with that. It's just poorly made. And I guess the message is about, corrupt cops. It makes sense to me, but if you agree with that, then you're some sort of like fascist or some shit like that. But I get the idea, but it's just so poorly executed. You don't know what you're getting from this movie. You don't understand what the fuck's going on. And it's just so poorly written and poorly produced and everything that you're just like, I don't give a fuck anymore. It's just shit, and I just wasted an hour and 40 or how many minutes with this movie, and you end up just going fuck it. So if Spiral, I would give this movie. It has a slick look. Certainly looks expensive, but it looks like it's a waste of expensive material. Still has a feeling of low budget garbage, and which the movies ended up becoming. And so I would give this a 4. Yeah, 4 out of 10. Just because it was, in the end, you're just, the more and more you think about how bad the writing is. Because like if a movie's like entertaining, you can sort of forgive bad writing, but this wasn't entertaining. It was just made. So I would give it 4 out of 5 Chris Rock's horrible acting. And with that, this has been the Horror Deconstruction.
The HorrorDeconstruction.